one of the things we emphasize in the Inner Kids program is the whole child, not just the child's academic capacity, not just the child's emotional capacity, not just the child's physical capacity, but we've learned through research and through experience that by really paying attention to the whole child, we can better help him or her in his overall well-being, as well as in the overall well-being of this entire family system. Now, we're getting that one again, sorry. Now, what do we mean when we talk about the whole child? The whole child includes the body, so it includes the physicality of the child, but it also includes the mind, and the mind being the brain, the intellect, as well as the emotions, the thoughts and the emotions. And then, of course, without the heart, we really don't have the whole picture. And when we're teaching children, we really want not to pay too much attention on any one of these areas, not to pay too much attention on the body or on the mind, the intellect, or on the emotions, or on the heart, but actually to work in balance, to create a balanced child who will be able to be happy, who will be able to be compassionate, and as a result, hopefully be able to reach his or her hopes and dreams as they grow up. Our program is based on the 4 foundations of mindfulness and mindfulness of in and out breathing. These are traditional Buddhist texts. We track those texts very, very carefully. And as you'll see as we talk a little bit more about the program, it's really quite genius how those programs are dovetailing with the new scientific research that's coming out. Now, that being said, even though our program does closely track these traditional texts, our program is entirely secular. It's something we've been extremely careful about doing. We do go into public schools and public community centers, and we teach children of all faiths. But most, if not all, major faiths do have some strong contemplative traditions, and so there's commonality that we can draw upon. And the basic premise where we start is just awareness of inner and outer experience. What we're really teaching kids to do in this program is really build their capacity for awareness. And again, in following the traditional text, we start with awareness of both inner and outer experience. And so as a result, with awareness of inner and outer experience, we develop attention, balance, and compassion. We call these the new ABCs of learning. We've all probably met children who are really quite extraordinary at paying attention, but maybe they're not very nice. And it's also possible we've met children who are really quite compassionate and the sweetest kids in the world, but they have a very hard time paying attention. So what we try to do is we try to treat the child in front of us, and when we talk about the whole child, we talk about treating the child that's in front of us now. And if the child is very strong in attention but needs a little work in the pro-social skills, then we'll work a little bit more on the practices that benefit the pro-social skills and develop those. If the child is sweet as can be but is having a little bit trouble with attention, then we'll work a little bit more on the attention skills. And as you'll see, there are very highly developed traditions or practices in the tradition that train all of these: attention, balance, and compassion. We call these the new ABCs. The new ABCs of learning we call the attention, balance, and compassion. Now, I wanted to point out the slides that I'm showing you. They may seem a little unusual. I don't know if you've seen slides like this before, but this is one of the reasons I present with these types of slides. Is it's a way of showing you how we try to present with children. In presenting with children, we try to present to learners who are both visual learners, auditory learners, and learners who learn more through reading. So we have all sorts of games, activities, and visual presentations so that we are able to reach all different learners, even if they may not be traditional learners. The other beauty of this type of presentation is it actually is speaking to a different part of your brain. My words are speaking to one part of your brain, which is more of a linear part of your brain, but the images are actually speaking to a different part of the brain. So I've been told by my friends who are researchers. And so when you are watching a presentation and hearing a presentation like this, the hope is that you are getting the information in all sorts of different ways, and that will help you and particularly children learn a little bit more easily. So the program is 3 parts. We start with introspection. Introspection, even as young as 4 years old, we have been successful in teaching them introspective practices. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. We start with introspection, but when practicing introspection with kids, it's extremely important that we keep it simple, that we keep it fun, and that we keep our sense of humor. If this is just too difficult for them, if it's too serious, if it's not fun, they're not going to do it and they're not going to get a benefit. But if we keep it lighthearted and if we have fun and if we're realistic about what we can expect from kids, little by little they can build their capacity to attend for longer and longer periods of time. As far as the sense of humor, I'm sure all of those out there who work with kids know that that is just critical when we're going in and working with kids in this type of a situation. So first we practice introspection. The next thing that we need to do, though, is we need to understand what it is that we saw while practicing introspection. And this is a part that is sometimes called counsel process. It's a process where we talk to children about what they experienced. Now, please understand that when we talk to kids about what they experience, we don't necessarily get in there. It is not therapy, and we don't necessarily get in there, and what I say back home is we don't muck around with their problems. What we do is we bring awareness to their problems. And as children become more awareness of what they're experiencing in their minds and their body, then that in and of itself, the awareness in and of itself often brings about change. So this is not a therapy situation. We're often in large groups of children, but that doesn't stop us from being able to really build awareness and help kids learn to build the capacity for awareness in a safe environment. So then we have the awareness training, and then lastly is community service, because from the standpoint of the teachings in which I was taught, all that we learn through introspection is extremely helpful, but we bringing with it an attitude of service to others, bringing it out into the community, generosity is also extremely important. So it's an integral part of our program. Now that I think you already saw, so I'm going to just go to the next one. So the first thing we start with is awareness of inner experience. And this, again, is if you're familiar with the 4 foundations of mindfulness or mindfulness of in and out breathing, you'll see that this tracks it pretty closely. We start with breath and body awareness. This little guy, or our gender-neutral little person there, is one of the characters we use with the kids, and you'll be surprised how many arguments the kids get into about whether he or she is a boy or a girl. But these are the kind of things that make it a great deal of fun for them. So we start with breath and body awareness, and this is a way that we have even children as young as 4 start to develop breath awareness. And one of the things we do, people often ask me about buy-in for young kids. We find if we make the practices, if we make it clear how the practices will help them in real-life situations, that they're more likely to buy in. It also helps if they're fun. So we talk to kids about how they can use breath awareness to calm them down when they're upset or to help them concentrate in school. The next thing we do is we do sensory images and we do sensory perception. So we work with the children and what they hear, see, taste, smell, and touch, and also where their body is in space. So this is also working with their vestibular and their proprioceptive system. So they know that when my arm is going up like this, without even really looking at my arm, they know where their arm is, and we help them build awareness of that. After we work with awareness of body, we move to awareness of mind, and this little snow globe is one of the tools I use that kids find very, very helpful when they're upset, is to just turn a snow globe over and then turn it back down and ask them to really feel their breathing. Not think about it, but feel your breathing as you watch the snow settle, and then see how they feel. Now that gives the breath regulation some time to kick in and time to help, and it also gives them a visual representation about how if we just give our thoughts and our emotions a little bit of time, they tend to settle, and then we're able to see more clearly. So that's one of the exercises we do to help kids with the awareness of mind and learning to see more clearly. After we work with awareness of ourselves, we pay attention to other people, which is also completely consistent and tracks the teachings. And we pay attention to other people, which for very young kids is a novel concept. To get young kids to go from paying attention to themselves to other people, that's a developmental step, and this is helpful in that. And then lastly, we pay attention to outer experience. We pay attention to everything. And with the paying attention to everything, we talk a lot about interconnection, interdependence, and service.